The Book of Witches prologue, when the veil first stirred. Open quote. In the beginning there was no name for magic, only breath and the sound of leaves learning to listen. Close quote. Before there were temples, before scripture, before the counting of moons, there was a woman kneeling in the dark earth, her hands pressed to the soil as if to feel the pulse of a buried heart. She did not call herself witch, she was simply awake. When the first wind rose over the sleeping forest, she heard it whisper through bone and root, and knew that all things, stone, beast, fire, tide, spoke a language without words. To understand it was not power but kinship. To practice it was not sorcery but memory. She was not alone. Across the ages and lands, others awoke, keepers of quiet fires in mountain caves, singers who hummed storms into calm, wanderers who traced spirals in river clay and knew them as maps of eternity. And though they never met, they knew each other by the hum in their blood, by the same ache to mend the severed thread between mortal and divine. These were the first witches. Not as tales later painted them, no brooms, no bargains, no curses flung from shadowed doorways, but as rememberers, midwives of balance. Where others saw the wild as danger, they saw it as mirror. Where others feared the night, they recognized their own reflection in the dark. When the veil first stirred, it was not a wall but a sigh, a slow exhale between worlds. The witches learned to breathe with it, inhaling life, exhaling offering, until each breath became a prayer in motion. One knelt by the hedge, listening to the space between here and the other world. One gathered herbs and whispered their true names back into the wind. Another traced waves with a driftwood wand, teaching the sea her own forgotten song. Another kept a hearth fire alive through generations, each spark a story retold in flame, and one stood barefoot in the storm, arms open to lightning and loss alike. Each witch carried a different flame, and yet when seen from the realm beyond sleep, their lights formed a circle, a wheel turning through time. When one lineage dimmed, another rose. When one craft was buried beneath fear and persecution, another whispered itself back through dream. The path was never broken, only hidden. And now it stirs again. You who read or listened to these words, you are not apart from them. Their fire still hums in your veins, their breath still moves in your lungs. The circle has widened to include you. Open quote, light your candle, seeker. For every spark is a star reborn, and every witch is a memory returning home. Close quote. This is where your journey begins. The air is trembling with recognition, the veil breathes, and the old fires, long thought extinguished, begin to glow again beneath your palms. Welcome home, witch of the crossroads, dreamer of the dawn. You have arrived where the first spell was ever cast, in silence, in awe, in belonging. Chapter 1, The Circle of Many Fires. Open quote, the craft is not a single flame, but a constellation of embers, each one a different memory of how to speak to the world. Close quote. There are many who call themselves witches. Some rise with the dawn to tend to their herbs, their fingers scented with rosemary, mint, and morning dew. Others move beneath the full moon, their feet bare in wet grass, calling names that have not been spoken in 1,000 years. Some read the stars, some scry with mirrors. Some simply sit and listen until the wind tells them what must be done. Each is a keeper of one truth, that there is no single path, only the act of walking, and the listening that follows. The hedge witch walks the line between worlds where dream and waking blend like mist. She tends the threshold, guarding both the living and the unseen, and her craft is quiet as a fox crossing moonlit grass. The green witch walks through living cathedrals of oak and fern. She speaks to roots, brews sunlight into salves and teas, and carries seeds in her pocket, as though each one were a promise. The kitchen witch works by the hearth, where flame meets nourishment. Her cauldron bubbles not with potion, but with love. Her incantations are laughter. Her spells are recipes that heal the weary spirit. The sea witch calls to the depths. Her altar is the tide, her wand a shell of memory. She listens to the pull of the moon, her heart beating to the rhythm of waves that never truly end. And the cottage witch, the forest witch, the storm witch, each one breathes a different verse of the same song. Together, they form the circle of many fires, a web of souls who have never met and yet recognize one another instantly. When you begin your path, you may ask, which fire is mine? The answer does not come through study or title, but through feeling. You will know it when your breath slows, when your hands find purpose, when a moment of stillness feels like prayer. Perhaps it happens in your kitchen at dawn, a candle flickering as you stir your tea clockwise. Perhaps it comes at twilight in a wild field where a crow watches from a branch and the world suddenly holds its breath. Perhaps it happens not in ritual, but in grief. When loss opens a door only the soul can step through, all are beginnings, all are sacred. Open quote, to be a witch is not to command nature, it is to remember that you are nature, close quote. Each path of the craft begins in the same place, awareness. You will find that your altar is not only made of wood and wax, it is the morning light on your windowsill, the breath you release when you forgive, the patience with which you wash your hands before working with herbs. The craft is not confined to ritual, it is the ritual, the folding of cloth, the striking of flint, the choosing of words when you speak your truth. Every gesture is a sigil, every thought an offering. When witches gather, physically or through time, they do not form ranks but circles. The circle reminds us that every spark belongs to the whole and that each person's practice keeps the others alive. Some circles are visible, covens, communities, kin. Others are silent ones like the one you are part of now, a vast constellation of souls walking their paths alone but together in the unseen web that binds us all. A whisper of practice. Tonight, light a single candle, do not speak, simply watch the flame breathe, let it flicker, lean and rise. It will teach you everything you need to know about balance, how to yield, how to burn, how to glow without consuming. That too is witchcraft. Open quote. The craft is a remembering. Every time you pause to notice the sacred within the ordinary, you rewrite your name in the book of the living. Close quote. Thus ends chapter 1, the circle of many fires. But the embers remain. When you next stir a pot, walk in rain, or light a candle, know that 1,000 unseen hands are doing the same, across miles, across centuries, across the veil. You are one of them now. Welcome to the circle. Let us begin the next turning of To the Green Witch, the language of leaves. Open quote. The forest has no need of words. It speaks in light and shadow, in the pulse of root and rain. To understand it is to remember what your body already knows. Close quote. The Green Witch is not simply a gardener, nor merely an herbalist. She is the listener between worlds, a translator of the unspoken covenant between human and earth. To walk her path is to unlearn hurry, to soften into rhythm, and to let your breath align with the seasons once more. Every plant is a teacher, every leaf a verse in the ancient tongue of Gaia. The Green Witch knows that the way a vine climbs a wall is the same way longing reaches toward light. That moss growing on the north side of a stone is a compass to the patient soul. That every fallen leaf is both a death and a promise. She walks barefoot not for ritual alone, but to feel the living pulse beneath her skin, the heartbeat that hums in soil and stone alike. The first lesson of the green path is presence. You cannot learn the forest if you arrive as a stranger. So she begins by listening. Before she gathers, she greets. Before she cuts, she asks. Before she uses, she gives back. The Green Witch may spend hours in stillness, hands buried in earth, until the garden begins to breathe with her. And when she does harvest, it is done in partnership, a quiet exchange, sealed with gratitude. She knows that herbs do not grow for human need alone. They exist because the world is generous, and the witch's task is not to take, but to tend. The second lesson is relationship. To the Green Witch, herbs are not ingredients, they are allies. She calls chamomile the comforter, valerian the gatekeeper of dreams, nettle the purifier and defender. She knows which plants calm the heart, which ones stir courage, and which must be approached with caution and respect. When she brews, she does not merely combine materials, she weaves spirits. Each root, flower, and leaf holds memory, and she stirs them into harmony as a musician tunes an instrument. This is why her craft heals, because it is not made of knowledge alone, but of relationship, love, and patience. Open quote. Magic grows where gratitude takes root. The third lesson is reciprocity. The Green Witch gives offerings, not because plants demand it, but because gratitude completes the circle. When she cuts rosemary, she leaves a drop of honey. When she collects water, she pours a libation back to the soil. When she burns herbs for cleansing, she opens a window for the smoke to return home. This is the rhythm of her days: give, receive, release, renew. And so her home becomes a living altar. Bowls of dried petals, jars of preserved sunlight, a few stones on the sill catching the afternoon's fire. Nothing grand, nothing showy, just reverent, alive, and true. A whisper of practice. Find a plant near your home, wild or tended, it matters not. Spend a week with it. Observe its changes. Touch its leaves. Notice how it moves when wind passes. Leave it water or song. Let it become your first teacher. You will begin to see how the world speaks when you finally stop speaking over it. Open quote, to walk the green path is to become fluent in silence. Close quote. The Green Witch's magic is subtle. She does not command storms or call thunder. Her work is the quiet restoration of balance in the soil, in the air, in the human heart. And yet her power is vast. For every act of care ripples outward, a balm for the aching world. Each herb she tends carries her spirit forward. Lavender calming the sleepless, sage cleansing forgotten rooms, rose petals softening grief. Through her, nature remembers kindness. Through her, the divine remembers humility. Through her, the old ways breathe again. Open quote. You are not apart from the earth. You are the earth remembering itself. Close quote. When you next brew tea, light incense, or water your plants, pause. Feel the rhythm beneath the gesture. That stillness, that pulse, is the Green Witch's prayer moving through you. No matter where you live, in Wild Valley or small apartment, the green world will find you. All it asks is that you listen, and when you do, the earth will whisper back your true name. Chapter 3. The Sea Witch, Salt, Moon and Memory. Open quote. The ocean remembers everything, the birth of stars, the fall of empires, the names you whispered when you thought no one could hear. Close quote. Before words, there was water. Before fire learned to burn, before earth took shape, the sea was already dreaming. To the Sea Witch, this dream never ended. It moves still, beneath every tide and tear, beneath every storm that shakes the bones of the world. She is the witch of ebb and flow, of surrender and return. Her altar is not made of wood or stone, but of horizon and wind. Her cauldron is the tide itself, ever-changing, never-ending. She walks where land forgets itself, barefoot on salt-slick stones, listening to the eternal breathing of the waves. She does not fight the tide. She lets it teach her how to yield and endure, how to fall apart and begin again. Lesson 1. Flow and release. The Sea Witch knows that to resist the tide is to drown beneath it, so she surrenders, not out of weakness but wisdom. When grief comes, she lets it wash through. When anger rises, she lets it foam and fall away. When joy arrives, she rides it like a wave, arms open, laughing into spray. She understands that emotion is ocean, that the heart too has tides. She works not to control her feelings, but to commune with them, to ride their rhythm rather than be broken by their weight. This is her first spell, to make peace with the current. Open quote. Let the waves take what must be gone. The sea does not cling, and yet it never forgets. Close quote. Lesson 2. Salt and memory. Salt is sacred to her, not for its rarity, but for its honesty. It preserves, purifies, protects, and yet it stings when truth meets wound. She knows this, that healing and hurting are siblings, that sometimes the sea's kiss burns before it soothes. When she casts her circle, she draws it in salt, a boundary that remembers where water once was. When she blesses her tools, she sets them near the tide, letting the wind and salt cleanse their story. In her workings, she keeps 3 waters: still water for reflection and scrying, running water for release and movement, salt water for protection and cleansing. These are her sacred triad, mind, heart and soul in liquid form. Lesson 3. The moon and the depths. The Sea Witch is ruled by the moon, that silver mirror that pulls her blood and tide alike. When the moon swells full, she opens herself to intuition. Her dreams vivid, her senses raw as open shells. When the moon wanes, she releases, spells of undoing, of endings accepted with grace. And when the dark moon comes, she descends into silence, into self, into the unseen trenches of her own heart. Here she meets what others flee, the wrecks and shadows buried in her depths. And she does not turn away. The Sea Witch knows that even the deepest abyss is still the sea, that even darkness contains the shimmer of beginnings. A whisper of practice. Tonight, place a bowl of water by candlelight. Add a pinch of salt. Stir it 3 times clockwise and whisper, open quote, as the sea remembers all, may I remember peace within change. Close quote, touch the water with your fingers, feel it cool against your skin. This is your ocean, wherever you are. You need no shoreline to hear her call. Open quote, the sea is the oldest mirror. It shows not your face, but your becoming. Close quote. The sea witch teaches that all things return. Every tear shed finds its way back to the tide. Every word spoken in truth ripples through eternity. Every act of love becomes a current moving unseen, shaping the coasts of lives you will never meet. Her magic is not to conquer, it is to remember that we are water in motion, light folded in salt, that we are never lost, only changing form. So when you next walk near water, pause, breathe with the waves, and listen. You may hear your own heartbeat echo back, ancient, patient, endless. Chapter 4, The Kitchen Witch, Hearth Fire and Alchemy. Open quote, the hearth remembers everything, the warmth of hands, the scent of herbs, the quiet turning of days into nights. Close quote. Before words, there was fire. Before water became ritual, before earth gave fruit, the hearth was already alive. To the kitchen witch, this fire never sleeps. It dances still beneath every pot and pan, beneath every simmer and roast that fills the home with scent. She is the witch of nourishment, of transformation, of magic in the everyday. Her altar is not marble or stone, but the crackling hearth, the chopping board, the spice jar. Her cauldron is the cooking pot itself, ever simmering, ever turning. She moves where comfort and alchemy meet, barefoot on tiled floors or worn wood, listening to the life in every crackle, letting the flame teach her patience and attention, how to stir not only the stew but the currents of intention. Lesson 1, Fire and Transformation. The kitchen witch knows that fire is more than warmth. It is a teacher. It transforms ingredients as it transforms thought, turning raw into ripe, simple into sacred. She adds herbs with care, each pinch a blessing, each stir a sigil. A cinnamon stick is courage, a sprig of rosemary is memory, a dash of salt is protection. She understands that creation is magic, that each meal prepared with attention is a spell cast, that every flavour awakened is a current of intention made visible. Lesson 2. Salt and substance. Salt is her compass. It preserves, purifies, protects, but it also reminds of boundaries, of what must be respected. When she blesses her ingredients, she touches them lightly, acknowledging the lives, the soil, the waters that brought them here. Her kitchen is not merely for eating, it is for remembering, honouring, and transforming. She keeps 3 vessels of water nearby, warm water for comfort and cleansing, cold water for reflection and release. Herb-infused water for magic, for blessing, for intent. These are her sacred triad, body, heart, and mind, nurtured in liquid form. Lesson 3. Stirring with intention. The kitchen witch knows that attention is the true ingredient. To chop, to mix, to knead, these are acts of meditation, of communion with the life flowing through her hands. When dough rises, she whispers blessings. When a tea steeps, she sends intention into the leaves. When a roast simmers, she calls forth warmth and safety. Her magic is not loud. It is the quiet, steady turning of a spoon, the gentle watching of a flame, the mindful tasting that affirms gratitude and care. A whisper of practice. Tonight, light a candle by your cooking space. Take a pinch of salt, sprinkle it into a bowl of water. Add an herb or spice you love. Stir clockwise 3 times and whisper. Open quote, as fire transforms, may I transform too, with care, with warmth, with intention. Close quote. Dip your fingers in the water. Feel the energy of the hearth, the gift of nourishment. This is your cauldron, wherever you are. Open quote. The hearth is the heart of the home. It shows not what we consume, but what we create. Close quote. The kitchen witch teaches that magic is always near. It is in kneading, stirring, tasting, offering. It is in meals shared, in herbs chosen, in warmth given. Every act of cooking becomes a current, shaping the lives of those who will eat, blessing them quietly, invisibly, endlessly. Her magic is not to conquer, it is to nurture, to transform the ordinary into sacred, to see flame and water, salt and herb as portals to wonder and care. So when you next prepare a meal, pause, breathe with the flame, and stir with intention. You may feel a magic older than fire itself, patient, gentle, sustaining. Chapter 5. The Hearth Eternal. the witch of warmth and remembrance. Open quote, not all fire devours. Some fires remember, they burn low and long and keep the night from swallowing the song, close quote. Before temples rose from stone, before towers and books and binding words, there was the hearth, a circle of warmth beneath the stars, a steady glow against the vast dark. It was here the first witch bent low, not to summon storms or raise spirits, but to coax flame from ember, to feed it, whisper to it, to make a friend of light. She became the hearth witch, keeper of flame and fragrance, guardian of the unseen rhythm that turns hunger into gratitude and solitude into sanctuary. Her magic is quiet, enduring. It lives in the scent of bread rising, the hum of the kettle, the slow pulse of coals beneath ash. She knows that the heart of a home is not built of walls, but of warmth that never leaves, a warmth that teaches us how to stay. Lesson 1, the fire within the hearth, which teaches that every hearth is a mirror. Its flame is your spirit, its smoke your breath. To tend the hearth is to tend yourself. Neglect it and the warmth wanes. Feed it and it answers, steady, sure, forgiving. Each morning she lights her candle with intention. As this flame awakens, so does my strength. Each night she dims it with care. As this light rests, so does my heart. Her first rite is not grand, it is the act of keeping something alive. Even the smallest flame, if tended with devotion, can outlast the storm. Lesson 2, the alchemy of daily life. The hearth witch knows that magic hides in the mundane. She blesses with breadcrumbs and honey, with salt over doorways, with whispered gratitude as she stirs the pot. When she bakes, she weaves wishes into the dough. When she brews tea, she stirs sun and moon into the cup. When she sweeps, she does not only cleanse dust, she clears sorrow, fear, and stagnation. Every act becomes invocation. Every humble motion, a thread in the tapestry of her craft. She teaches that sacredness is not found elsewhere. It is made here in the simple kindness of a meal shared, in the glow that greets a wanderer home. Lesson 3, the hearth rite of renewal. There comes a time when even the strongest fire falters, when grief chills the bones and silence sits heavy in the room. Then the hearth witch performs her ancient rite, the rite of rekindling. She clears the space, lays kindling of bay and rosemary, and whispers, open quote, flame of the ancestors, keeper of memory, rise once more, warm the places sorrow froze, bring back the light that I forgot, close quote. As the fire catches, she breathes deeply, imagining her own heart igniting again, not in blaze but in glow, a promise that warmth can return, even after loss. Lesson 4, the spirit of the home. The hearth witch communes with what others overlook, the soul of the house itself. Each home, she says, is alive. It listens to laughter, absorbs tears, echoes the dreams of those within. She leaves milk or honey on the sill, a small token for the spirits of shelter. She hums to the walls, thanks the door for its keeping and the floor for its patience. To her, domesticity is devotion, a love letter written in daily gestures, signed with breath and warmth. A whisper of practice tonight, light a candle where you rest or cook. Sit before it quietly, watch how it moves, how it breathes. Place your hands near the flame, palms open. Say softly, open quote, I tend the fire within and without. May warmth return to every darkened place. May light linger, gentle and true. Close quote. Let the candle burn as you prepare a simple meal or drink. With every motion, imagine your spirit being fed, your home growing gentler, safer, more awake. This is the oldest spell of all, to keep the fire alive. Open quote. The flame is not a thing you own, it is a thing you keep, and in keeping it, you are kept. Close quote. The hearth witch teaches that love does not fade with absence. It lingers in the scent of sage, in the warmth of worn cups, in the embers that refuse to die. Her magic is the long remembering, the vow that even through ruin and rebuilding, the light of care endures. She is the witch of continuance, of comfort, of promise kept through the quiet hours. When the world grows cold and all other lights dim, her hearth still glows, steady as a heart, ancient as dawn. Chapter 6, Stormborn, the witch of tempest and renewal, open quote. The storm remembers what the earth forgets, the breaking, the bending, the beauty of surrendering to wind and lightning, close quote. Before hearth, before sea, before even earth settled beneath our feet, there was the storm. A pulse in the sky, a heartbeat in the clouds, a song of wildness no hand could hold. The storm witch walks within this chaos, barefoot on drenched soil, hair whipped by wind, eyes reflecting the silver of lightning. She does not fear the storm. She is the storm. Its whisper, its howl, its calm after the crash. Her magic is raw, elemental. It teaches that power is not only in control, but in the courage to surrender, to move with the currents of change, to bend like reed without breaking. She holds a mirror to the tempest within every soul. Emotions as fierce as thunder, as cleansing as rain, as illuminating as a sudden flash of lightning in night's deep black. Lesson 1. Chaos as teacher. The storm witch knows that storms are neither evil nor punishment. They are mirrors. She welcomes rage and grief, fear and despair, not to indulge them endlessly, but to understand them, release them, and transmute their energy. She chants, open quote, wind and lightning tear through the rigid, shake the old walls, let the currents carve a new path. Close quote. She teaches that storms, like pain, have purpose, to awaken, to renew, to remind us that stillness alone is not life. Lesson 2. Lightning and strength. Lightning is the sword of the sky, a flash of sudden clarity, a crack in illusion. The storm witch calls it not as a weapon, but as a guide. When she faces indecision, she pictures a lightning strike, cutting through doubt, illuminating the path forward. When she feels weakness, she imagines her own inner storm, its energy arcing through her veins, shaking loose fear and hesitation. Her rites often include standing in rain and wind, letting the elements wash over her, whispering names of what she will release into the storm, striking the air with intention, letting her body echo the lightning's arc. Each act is a rite of surrender and strength intertwined. Lesson 3. Rain and renewal. Rain is the storm's gift. Softening, soaking, cleansing. The storm witch teaches that after every lightning flash, water follows, a reminder that release is never destructive alone but nurturing. She gathers rainwater for spell work, to cleanse tools, to bless thresholds, to nourish plants and soil. She drinks from it, feeling the storm's energy seed her own growth. Her lesson is clear. To weather the storm is not only endurance, it is transformation, turning turbulence into fertility, chaos into creation. Lesson 4. The storm rite. When the soul feels heavy with unspoken grief or the heart tight with fear, the storm witch performs her ancient rite, the rite of the open sky. She goes to a window, cliff or field, raising arms to the wind, she whispers, open quote, storm that shakes, wind that bends, lightning that frees, carry away what no longer serves me. Leave only strength, clarity and courage in your wake. Close quote. She lets her tears mingle with rain, her breath echo with thunder, her heart hum with the rhythm of the storm, and when she lowers her arms, she feels lighter, cleansed, renewed, her inner skies cleared, ready for new horizons. A whisper of practice tonight if you can. Step into the rain, or imagine the storm in your mind. Feel the wind brush your skin, the surge of energy through your body. Say softly, open quote, I am the storm. I bend, I break, I rise, I welcome change, and I carry strength. Close quote. Visualize lightning cutting through fear, rain washing away doubt, and wind lifting what must be released. This is the oldest lesson of all, that surrender is not weakness, and chaos can be a teacher. Open quote, storm is neither enemy nor friend. It is the mirror of the heart, showing us where we are rigid, where we must let go, where we might rise again. Close quote. The storm witch teaches that life is not calm, and neither should it be. Every challenge is a current, every loss a wave, every triumph a lightning flash. Her magic is the courage to stand in the tempest, the wisdom to ride it, the heart to receive what falls from sky and soul alike. When next you hear thunder, pause. Feel the pulse of your own spirit echoing the storm, and know you are alive, and all your storms carry the promise of renewal. Chapter 7. The Nocturne Path, the Witch of Shadow and Dreams, open quote. The night remembers everything that the day forgets. The quiet fears, the secret longings, the whispers of what sleeps beneath the skin, close quote. Before sun warmed the earth, before fire lit the hearth, before rain touched leaf and stone, there was night. A velvet cloak over the world, a mirror for the unseen, a space where silence spoke louder than any word. The nocturne witch walks here, barefoot on dew-slick grass, her eyes reflecting starlight and shadow alike. She does not fear darkness, she belongs to it. Her magic is woven in stillness, in the hum of the hidden, in the lives that flicker between wakefulness and sleep. Her cauldron is the moon, her wand the silver thread of dreams. She teaches that the unseen is not absence. It is potential. It is memory. It is power waiting to be claimed. Lesson 1. Shadow as guide. The nocturne witch knows that shadow is not evil. It is the part of ourselves we refuse to see, the hidden sorrow, the unspoken longing, the places our courage has not yet ventured. To walk with shadow is to know oneself fully. She whispers, open quote, "Come, shadow, come, truth, I do not turn from you. I listen, I learn, I integrate." Close quote. Her rituals include walking alone at night, eyes open, senses attuned, naming fears quietly into the darkness, offering a token to the unseen, a stone, a leaf, a whispered word. She teaches that true power lies not in ignoring darkness, but in moving through it with grace. Lesson 2. Dreamwork and divination. The nocturne witch reads the night like a map. Dreams are her scrolls, omens are her ink, and intuition is her compass. She sows seeds of intention before sleep, a sprig of lavender for clarity, a silver coin for insight, a whispered question for guidance. She walks the liminal spaces between sleeping and waking, catching messages in shadow, tracing patterns in starlight, and learning the secret language of the unseen. Her tools are simple: a dark cloth to cover her altar at night, a bowl of water for reflection, a candle to mark the threshold between worlds. Each element is a portal, a key to hidden knowledge, a reminder that insight is born in quiet vigilance. Lesson 3. The night rite of integration. When the heart is heavy with unspoken truths or the mind restless with unanswered questions, the nocturne witch performs her rite of shadows. She sits in darkness, candle low, breath slow, spine straight. She whispers to herself and the unseen, open quote, "I honor what sleeps within me. I welcome the voices I have silenced. I fold light and shadow into one." Close quote. She traces symbols in the air with her fingers, listens to the soft hum of her own heartbeat, and records what arises in a journal or memory. Through this act, she transforms fear into guidance, fragmentation into wholeness, sleep into vision. A whisper of practice tonight. Find a quiet space, dim or dark. Close your eyes and breathe slowly. Ask silently, open quote, "What have I not yet seen? What whispers of truth wait for me in shadow?" Close quote. Imagine your shadow stretching, moving, speaking. Offer a small token, a leaf, stone, or word. Listen for its answer in sensation, thought, or dream. This is the path of the night: integration, insight, and intimate communion with the unseen. Open quote, "Night is not absence, it is presence. It is the teacher that asks only that we pause, that we watch, that we listen, and that we honor the parts of ourselves hidden from the sun." Close quote. The nocturne witch teaches that the unseen is always near. Dreams, intuition, quiet instincts, these are her gifts to those who move with care. Her magic is patience, observation, and reverence. When you next walk beneath starlight or sit in darkness at the edge of sleep, pause, breathe. Feel the whisper of shadow and light interwoven. You are neither lost nor alone. You are awake in the world the day forgets. Epilogue. All fires return to the sky. The air carries the hush of embers cooling. A single candle remains lit. There comes a moment between the hush and the dawn when even the oldest fire leans toward the wind, not to die, but to remember where it came from. Ash becomes breath, flame, and the circle that began in darkness now begins again in light. Listen. The hearth crackles one last time. A voice of home and memory. The sea witch's tide sighs against distant shores. The hedge witch's breath rustles the unseen paths. The green witch's roots tremble with a secret joy. The storm witch's laughter rolls like thunder behind the hills. And in the shadows, the nocturne witch closes her mirror, sealing every dream with a silver thread. You stand at the center of them all, the last firekeeper, the watcher of what was, the bearer of what will be. The listener breathes slow and deep. Raise your hands, palms open to the dim light. Feel the warmth left in the air. The trace of every spell, every whisper. This warmth is memory. This warmth is lineage. This warmth is you. Now the witches speak one final time, not with voices, but through the hush that binds all things. Open quote, "Child of ash and morning flame, you who have tended, wandered, and wept, remember all fires are kin. The smallest spark is the echo of stars. When you light a candle, we breathe through you," close quote. The listener may light a final candle here. Let this be your closing rite. Light your flame, Cup it with both hands, whisper the words, open quote, as below, so within, all fires return, and I return with them. Close quote. Breathe in once for all that you have learned. Breathe out for all that you release. Then blow gently. Let the smoke rise, curling like the ghosts of all the witches who came before. Watch it fade into the dawn. And so the book closes, not with an ending, but with the sound of the wind carrying embers across the fields. If you listen long enough, you'll hear them still, laughing, whispering, tending their eternal flames somewhere beyond the veil, where every witch's fire returns to the sky.